Only 144,000 people go to heaven? All right, y'all. So let's debunk everything. TikTok got people thinking only 144,000 people make it to heaven. If that's true, humanity is cooked. Let's talk about where this number actually comes from and why it's being taken away out of context. This number comes from one book in the Bible, the book of Revelation. It mentions 12,000 from each 12 tribes of Israel. 12 times 12,000 equals 144,000. But already that should tell you something. That isn't random math, y'all. This idea comes from the book of Revelation, specifically chapters 7 and 14. Not the Gospels, not Jesus speaking. One highly symbolic vision written during persecution, filled with imagery, metaphors, and coded language meant to survive an empire. Like, we got to understand where we come from, y'all. So basically in this video, what I'm doing is breaking down 144,000 in biblically, historically measures. And I'm going beyond what they talking about just 144,000 people, which was made back in 10 AD to 90 AD, y'all. 1080 to 90 AD. This was a long time ago, y'all. Like a lot of this stuff, like we don't ever understand where we come from, and that's why I'm here to break it down to y'all, like, and where all this stuff comes from, and where the Book of Revelation comes from, and how to more understand it, because a lot of people don't understand it at all. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people read it, but just get the context messed up. A lot of this stuff don't mean what y'all think it mean. What they was writing about in what 10 AD, 10 to 9, what 10 to 90 AD. A lot of this stuff, basically, they didn't show you how to break the Bible down, is what I'm trying to tell you. The 12 tribes of Israel come from the 12 sons of Jacob, later called Israel. Each tribe represented a family line, a land inheritance, and a role within ancient Israel. This was never meant to be global census of humanity. It's a very specific cultural framework. So here's the first crack in the literal argument. If the 144,000 is literal heaven limit, then salvation is restricted to an ancient tribal system that most of the modern world doesn't even belong to. That alone should make you pause. Here's the list of the tribes if you don't know them. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Gad, it might be Gad, I think that's Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. They didn't have no ways of how you pronounce these names, so I pronounced them as best as I could, y'all. These are the 12 tribes named in Revelation, but here's where it gets interesting. Now let's get uncomfortable. The list of the tribes of the Revelation doesn't perfectly match other biblical lists. Dan is missing. Levi, who's usually excluded, suddenly appears. Joseph replaces Ephraim. The lineup changes depending on the book. If this were meant to be a literal roster, consistency would matter, but symbolism doesn't need rigid structure. It needs meaning. Clean numbers, adjusted lists, and perfect symmetry are clues you'll read in theology, not genealogy. Then we got 12,000 times 12 equals 144,000. 12 tribes, 12,000 from each, perfect symmetry. That's not census data, that's symbolism. If this were literal, the math wouldn't be this clean, y'all. Now, y'all gotta think about it. That's a lot. It's a lot of symbolism because 12 is the meaning of a lot of things. Like 12, you got 12 on the clock. 12, it's just 12 mean a lot of stuff, y'all. 12 mean a lot of stuff. And if you want to take it to the big picture, 12 equals God's people. 1,000 equals completeness. In biblical writing, numbers aren't just numbers. 12 represents God's people. 1,000 represents fullness or completeness. So this number isn't a head count. It's a symbol of completeness, y'all. Some groups took this number and literally said, only these people go to heaven. That idea creates fear and it creates ego. Because someone feels chosen. Revelation doesn't equals timeline. Revelation wasn't written as a future prediction timeline. It was written during Roman persecution. It uses symbols, coded language, and imagery to send a message without getting people killed. This book is resistance literature, not a guest list. And right here, This is a verse that people always ignore. Right after that, it say a great multitude that no one could count. A great multitude that no one could count. Here's the part where people always skip. Right after mentioning the 144,000, the Bible says a great multitude that no one could count. So even that text itself doesn't limit salvation to a number. That's why I was trying to tell y'all that 144,000 doesn't actually mean a number. It was symbolic. Then right after naming 144,000 from the tribes, the text describes a massive crowd from every nation that no one can count. So either the Bible contradicts itself immediately, or the 144,000 is symbolic, like I said, y'all. And then we got to think about it, where the conspiracy twist happens. Jehovah's Witnesses took this and taught it. Jehovah's Witnesses took this and taught it, that 144,000 humans go to heaven. Everyone else either stays on earth or doesn't make it. Come on, y'all, think. Even they later had way more than 144,000 members claiming salvation. So the doctrine had to be reworked to avoid collapsing on itself. That's when the confusion exploded. Then you want to ask yourself why Revelation is the most misunderstood book in history, and why that's on purpose. Revelation was not written for modern Americans in 2026. It was written for persecuted Christians under the Roman Empire around 90 to 100 AD. Talking reckless about Rome equals execution. So the author, John of Patmos, used coded language. Why numbers, beasts, seals, and trumpets exist? They were codes, not predictions. I'm gonna give y'all an example. 666 equals Nero, Nero Caesar. When translated into Hebrew, numerology, you got beast equals empire, Babylon equals Rome, mark of the beast equals forced allegiance to state power. This wasn't microchips and barcodes. It was don't sell your soul to an empire. It's a symbol of faithful resistance. It's like almost like even if the empire crushes us, God still preserves his people. That's hope language, not exclusion language. Not exclusion language, like he gonna exclude us from heaven. That's hope in us, y'all. So let me be blunt. Anyone saying that only 144,000 people going and they're one of them, they're misreading symbolism, they're feeding the ego, and they're selling fear for clicks. Selling fear for clicks. Like they putting it on TikTok and they saying, "Oh yeah, I'm scared," so you can click it and you can be scared with them. Come on, y'all, make it make sense. Then we're gonna dig a little bit deeper. Why this gets ignored? Chosen mentality. People skip the tribes part because it ruins the chosen narrative. You can't claim exclusivity and symbolism at the same time. Once ego gets involved, context disappears. So we wonder why people still push the literal view. Because exclusivity feels powerful. Being part of a tiny safe group makes people feel special, informed, and ahead of the curve. It turns spirituality into a hierarchy instead of transformation. But the moment a belief depends on most people being excluded, it stops being about the truth and starts being about ego. And historically, that's how theology goes off the rails every single time. Revelation wasn't written to scare future generations to panic. It was written to encourage people being crushed by empire, telling them that no matter how bad it gets, God's people are never erased. The imagery wasn't predicting TikTok timelines or modern politics. It was coded, resistance literature. Read it like a warning against worshiping power, not a spreadsheet for who gets in. So we think like, why Revelation? Every time the world feels unstable, end times, content explodes, wars, technology, anxiety, economic stress, people crave certainty. And fear-based content spreads faster than calm explanations. TikTok doesn't reward nuisance, it rewards shock. So the most extreme interpretations get pushed to the top, even if they fall apart under basic scrutiny. And this is the final part, y'all. The 12 tribes aren't about exclusion, they're about completeness. The 144,000 isn't a heaven cap. It's a symbolic message of preservation, and the uncountable multitude makes the point crystal clear. If someone tells you that they know they are part of the 144,000, ask them how humility fits into that claim. Because the moment certainty replaces understanding, the symbolism is already broken. If you believe the 144,000 is literal, explain how the next verse contradicts it. But if you don't, comment down below what you were taught for real, so this video can hit the algorithm. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns without fear tactics. And next up, I feel like I'm gonna do why 666 isn't what people think. You get what I'm saying? So I'm diving into all this stuff, man. If y'all new, man, for sure, like, share, and subscribe. It's your boy Lano, man, and I'm out. Peace.